Okay, I'm going to start this video with a positive and personal statement. Slam Dunk is very quickly becoming one of my all-time favorite series. In the past few weeks, I read the first 3 quarters of this series, and in that time I've gone from hating characters to loving them, from watching a brand new team of basketball players come to their own and improve with every win and loss. And I'm also finding a character go from someone I wasn't a fan of initially, to one that has become one of my all-time favorite MCs in anime and manga. We're now in the second half of Slam Dunk, and I can't wait to begin discussing, and ultimately raving, about this portion of the story. So let's get into it. This video won't be too deep when it comes to plot summary, as the majority of this part of the story consists of basketball games, primarily one major game that spans multiple volumes. But I did want to discuss certain attributes of the game as there is a lot to unpack here. To start things off with this section, we have a new version of Sakuragi, haircut and all. This Sakuragi, while still being loud and confident, has shown to us, the audience, that he has made mistakes and wants to rectify these mistakes, so he works on improving his skills as a player. He slows down his aggressive attitude, thinking more rationally at moments in the game, although it does like to creep out here and there. We're going to get deeper into his character later, but I just wanted to highlight the changes we as the audience can see in Sakuragi right away as we begin this arc. The arc really does start off now with a match between Ryonan and Keinan. It's a brutal back and forth between these two teams, and our Shohoku boys are simply sitting in and watching this match. We really get to see the best of both teams on display here, with Ryonan putting up a fight against Keinan. Our junior team members walk out relatively early, seeing all they need to see as they call it, and the only 2 important players left are Akagi and Kogure. In the middle of this match, we do get a pretty tense moment where Akagi gets a call letting him know that Coach Anzai is in the hospital. Now, I want to use some of this time to discuss Coach Anzai as a character, as he's been shown to have this aura of importance around him, as goofy as he may now look. He gets played off for laughs a lot of the time, through Sakuragi's messing with his chin and other body parts. However, there is an overall respect for the coach. The news ends up shaking the whole team as they end up meeting in the hospital. Ultimately, the coach is alright and we get some more info into what happened. It actually ended up being Sakuragi who found Anzai and called for the ambulance. And through this moment, we get into a small flashback with Sakuragi and his past. Up until this point, Inoue hasn't really been showing us too many flashbacks, but rather letting the story speak for itself while we're all in the moment. This flashback, however, really does showcase some growth in Inoue's writing, as he's able to add some more character to Sakuragi and the person he is behind that cocky exterior. It really made me feel for Sakuragi in that moment, and now I'm a bigger fan of his character from this small flashback and moment with Coach Anzai than I was in the whole story up until this point. Back to the Ryonan-Keinan game, the match does go into overtime, however Keinan ultimately ends up on top, securing their spot in the Nationals. Now we're in a situation where Keinan is advancing with 2 wins, and both Shohoku and Ryonan are tied with 1 win and 1 loss. This means that whoever wins this next match is going to advance to Nationals, making the stakes quite high, and that's something that we haven't really experienced in the story up until this point. Until now, we've been shown exhibition matches or those that we can afford to lose, but for the first time, it's make or break for the team. If Shohoku doesn't win this match against Ryonan, they're out and will not make it to the Nationals. So, the big match between Shohoku and Ryonan has begun, and for the next few volumes, this is where we're going to witness some of the greatest moments I have seen in my decade-plus long journey with anime and manga. The match is fast-paced, there's a ton of action and twists, and we get to see just how much Inoue has improved as a writer when compared to the first Ryonan match in the beginning of the series. To start, there's a new player on Ryonan's team, Kicho Fukuda. He's an excellent basketball player and showcases Ryonan has more up its sleeve than just Sendo. Fukuda showcases his skills in the match, angering Sakuragi throughout, and we really get to see that Shohoku isn't the only team with an all-around great player. Another character on Ryonan's side that gets more recognition is their captain Uozumi. While he is a brute who keeps getting fouls, there are a lot of situations that showcase just how skilled he is when it comes to basketball. And we as the readers really begin understanding just why he's the captain of this team. His ability to motivate the team when necessary, as well as his size, there's no question he makes for a great captain and an even better challenge for Shohoku. The match gets pretty intense, as both Akagi and Sakuragi try and overwhelm the Ryonan team, and with our team winning, Ryonan end up playing even better to close the gap. With this, we begin to see some nervousness and vulnerability from Akagi, as he gets into his own head and starts making mistakes. This doesn't last long, however, as Sakuragi uses his head, literally, to snap Akagi out of it. Fukuda is quite the scary player as we see throughout this match as well. He's someone who is able to go toe-to-toe with a variety of Shohoku's players and showcases his skills in many aspects of basketball. He's not just relying on one key strength, like his shot for example. The match really does go back and forth, with both Shohoku and Ryonan overwhelming each other and Ryonan slowly closing the gap between them. As this match is extremely taxing, this leads to something that we haven't seen before in the series, that being overwhelming fatigue. Up until this point, we've seen Shohoku and its opponents run out of steam. However, this only led to some slower and worse playing. To this point, we haven't seen the full ramifications of playing an intense match for so long until now. Mitsui collapses and needs to be subbed out with Kogure. The match is looking a bit more dire now, as we've lost our star shooter. There isn't a lot of time left on the clock, and Ryonan is catching up at a faster pace than we'd like. The situation is tense, there's barely any time left on the clock, and our boys are exhausted. We've been playing extremely well, but this has been the toughest battle Shohoku has faced up until this point. What's gonna happen now? Well, what has happened next was one of the most hype moments I have witnessed so far. Kogure has the ball, shoots the basket, and scores a 3. Up until this point, Kogure has been a character that has interested me quite greatly. He's the vice captain of the team, however he isn't in the starting lineup following our main cast joining. He's always been around, or appeared to be. He's a character that has been motivating to his underclassmen, especially Sakuragi, always being the encouraging one when everyone else is beating him down. I remember in my first Slam Dunk video, I've wanted to see more from Kogure, and with this moment and the following flashback, I got a chance to see the person he really is. Someone who cares about basketball and his team, someone who practiced hard to get to where he was, and someone who wanted to make it big just as much as Akage has. He just showed it differently. Kogure is a character who doesn't really have much to prove. He's always been a reliable person, but that's precisely what makes his shooting this 3-pointer so impactful. The one who was always there finally had his time to shine. Now, with the gap widened and our win practically solidified, we get one more twist to make this match even more intense. Sendo scores with a minute left on the clock, reducing Shohoku's lead to only 2 points. But there's one final twist left. Sakuragi makes a slam dunk and wins the game for Shohoku 70-66. With this, the Shohoku boys are going to the Nationals. Now, I wanted to spend some time on a moment that made me fall in love with this series while reading it. It was something I wasn't expecting, but was executed beautifully by Inoue. Akagi is standing there, with his back turned to everyone, and Sakuragi comes up to him and says, "Come on, let's line up." This panel was the perfect parallel to the earlier one, where Akagi was comforting Sakuragi for his mistake against Keinan. This time, the tears flowing down our team's face are those of excitement and victory, and not defeat and a mistake. When I saw this panel and the few following ones after, I actually started to tear up myself. And it's been a long time since I had this emotional of a reaction to a manga or an anime. If a series can get me to feel like this, then it's done its job in delivering a great story or an emotional moment. I can only applaud Inoue for writing such a powerful scene in his work. With that, our boys are going to Nationals, and following some after-game chapters, this penultimate section of Slam Dunk comes to an end. It's crazy, we're not even finished with the story, but I can already feel Slam Dunk becoming one of my favorite shonen series, or even manga series ever. In the 23 volumes I've read up until this point, I've been able to fall in love with these characters, feel a variety of emotions, from happiness to tenseness to disappointment and anger. This series about basketball has already moved me in ways I didn't expect. I'm super excited to see where this final portion of the story takes me. And next time, we'll be finishing this series rundown with the National Championship. Here's hoping for a good outcome, but I have a feeling that no matter what happens, I'll have a damn good time reading through it. Thanks a lot for watching if you're all still here, and I'll catch you all next time.